So Texas Governor Greg Abbott is trying to legalize the murder of leftists. Let's not mince words here, as clearly we're not going to, but this has been done in more subtle ways in the past, and it's been getting more and more blatant. You know, referring to everybody that protests for Black Lives Matter as a rioter, daring to compare any of the Black Lives Matter protests to the January 6th protest. Daring to do that has been a version of this. Kyle Rittenhouse was allowed to get away with murdering leftist protesters. Kyle Rittenhouse, as you know, is a murderer who was allowed to get away with murder. That's the advantage the right holds right now. That's how corrupt and evil the right is in the United States of America right now. Make no mistake. Murders like this will keep happening because the murderers believe that they are immune from the law. And they have reason to believe that. Here is TYT talking about Greg Abbott's plan to legalize the murder of lefties. Well,
tonight we extended an invitation.
That's a hell of an intro. Here we go. I do like their intros, but it starts with Tucker Carlson criticizing Greg Abbott for not legalizing the murder of lefties.
To come on this show on Monday. And we wanted to ask if he was considering a pardon for Daniel Perry. But for some reason,
they'll tell you who that is in a moment.
Governor Greg Abbott's office told us he just can't make it and that we should talk to the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, instead. So that is Greg Abbott's position.
I want to be really clear, despite that video being of Tucker Carlson, he's not our Monday menace. He could be, but he's not. No, it is actually Greg Abbott, because you know what Greg Abbott did after that? He did what Tucker Carlson wanted. And you can bring up this tweet of Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, says he is going to be working to pardon this guy, Sergeant Daniel Perry, who killed a protester. And we're going to give you all the details. And I want to be very clear. They don't give a damn about any of the details that we're going to describe to you. The only thing that they need to know is that he killed a protester in a BLM rally. That's what it was. And so nothing else matters at that point. He went to the rally bringing his gun. He shot and killed someone. He's the good guy.
That is, and has been for a while now, how Republicans think. If you kill someone on the left, you don't need to get punished for it. In other words, people that vote Republican believe it's okay to kill people you disagree with politically. That's what the Republican Party is. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. You're literally voting for your lives now. Let them keep going. Listen to how absolutely, number one, obnoxious, and number two, common this person's beliefs are. Listen to the reasoning he used to murder this person. By the way, he was convicted of murder. Tell me if it's any different than Kyle Rittenhouse gunning down the other protesters. That these monsters in the Republican Party, voters and politicians, that they would dare support this. The fact that there's not Republicans out right now demanding that Greg Abbott resign, that tells me everything I need to know about these people.
That is it. That is all the governor of one of the largest states in the country cares about. The guy, by the way, on Fox News with the biggest audience only cares about the fact that someone they code as a leftist got gunned down, thus no crime was committed. But don't just take my word, for it. I want to give you the details. So last Friday, Travis County jury found Daniel Perry, the guy that they're advocating for, guilty in the death of Garrett Foster, a 28-year-old. So police said that Perry, based at the time 70 miles north at Fort Hood, was driving in downtown Austin on the evening of July 25th in 2020 when he encountered demonstrators in the street and came to a stop. Foster was legally carrying a semi-automatic rifle, which every right-winger says is the best thing ever. You should be walking around with them constantly. There's nothing suspicious about it. When he approached the intersection where protesters had gathered, police said he was fatally shot by Perry, who stayed in a vehicle and used a handgun. Perry claimed to police that Foster, an Air Force veteran, had pointed the weapon at him, inspiring him to shoot in self-defense. Foster was pronounced dead at the hospital. So his entire claim is based on self-defense because Foster pointed the gun at him. Although I keep being told by right-wingers that having a gun, pointing a gun, there's nothing suspicious or dangerous about that. That's what patriots do. Weird how when someone, even though he's a vet, is coded as a leftist, all of a sudden it becomes an immediate signing of his death warrant. So Perry said, I didn't know he was gonna aim it at me. I thought he was gonna kill me. I've never been so scared in my life. Bear in mind, it seems pretty clear that he drove specifically to find these protesters. So bear that in mind.
Guy went looking for trouble, and he went looking for trouble armed. By the way, at the state level, something you can do is tell your representative you want laws against bringing a weapon to a gathering. Let's call them stopping mass shooting laws. No more should people be allowed to show up to a protest armed. I don't care if you're protesting. I don't care if you're protesting to protest. I don't want to see that anymore. It's got to end. It's just right-wingers looking to pick a fight and then shoot the people they provoked.
But anyway, this claim that Foster raised the barrel of his AK-47 is Perry's principal hope, okay? It was refuted over and over during the first 3 days of the trial by witnesses who were near Foster that night. All repeated basically the same story. They heard squealing tires as a car sped into a group of about 20 protesters. The protesters, some of whom had almost been hit by the car, slapped and kicked it.
Attempted murder number 1.
Understandably, they were almost run down. Garrett Foster strode to the car's side and issued an order to the driver. All of the witnesses insisted that Foster did not raise the barrel of his gun. According to the DA's lead prosecutor, his gun was recovered with the safety still on and no bullet in the chamber.
And then he was killed, which was actual murder. And he was convicted of it. In Texas. Now Greg Abbott says he wants to pardon this man who was convicted of murder in Texas. Nope. No, sir. Link in the description. Do what I just did 10 minutes before the show went live. Write Greg Abbott. In this case, I called. And tell him, should be able to leave a message. Tell him exactly what you think of this. In addition, write your representatives and tell them you want this slammed over and over publicly. Let's make it crystal clear who is doing what in our government. People should be, literally, if you're on the left, you should be concerned for your life. Not an exaggeration. What did that guy do? He drove his car into protesters, at protesters. People responded appropriately. They struck the car. They slapped the car, okay? He gets out and he shoots somebody to death. And now the governor of Texas would dare suggest that that guy gets to get away with it. Kyle Rittenhouse did get away with murder. It will get worse and worse and worse until there are consequences. Provide them. The people must demand them. Ain't a joke, folks.